right, so now to help us understand everything more, to demystify it all, we're joined now by Melchior Szczepanik, Polish Institute of International Affairs, in particular the latest out of Brussels. What's going on? He's going to tell us all about it. Thank you so much for joining us here. Welcome to the program.
Good evening. Good evening. Thanks for having me.
Now, Melchior, if you can look into your crystal ball of what we have, because we had the informal meeting of all the EU leaders just on Monday. We were hoping very much clarity on at least if von der Leyen would make it again to 2.0, another Commission president. That didn't end up happening. There's the official European Council next week. Now, in your estimation here, what's the holdup? Was the EPP too greedy? I know that certain people were sidelined, including Meloni from the ECR. So why didn't we have more of a decision, a conclusive decision, who would run the council and all those other positions? More clarity. What was missing?
Well, of course, the negotiations between leaders of the member states were not public. So what we know from leaks. So we can only say what's the most likely explanation. And it seems that actually the reason was little conflict within the centrist pro-European coalition that will decide on the top jobs. So within a coalition that consists of Social Democrats, center-right Christian Democrats, and the liberal centrist political family. And as you said, since the Christian Democrats are now stronger than they were in the previous term, they want a greater piece of the pie, so to speak. Well, there are three key positions to take. So the President of the European Council, President of the European Commission, and unofficial EU foreign minister, so the High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy. So in theory, these three groupings, three European parties, it would be quite easy for them to divide, because one position should in theory go to each of the parties involved. But since the Christian Democrats are now stronger, much stronger than the Social Democrats and the Liberals, they want a bit more, and they want to share the position of the European Council presidents with the Christian Democrats, with the Social Democrats. So the Social Democrats would take this position for 2.5 years, and then for another 2.5 years, it could belong to the EPP, to the Christian Democrats. Mm-hmm. But of course, the Social Democrats are not that keen on that, and they would like to hold this position for 5 years. So I believe it's likely that at the moment this is the key issue that still divides the politicians who are involved. If they manage to find a compromise, to get over it, then probably the package deal will be done at the summit next week.
Yeah. Okay, I wanted to ask you about Andrzej Halicki, who's become a vice chair in the EPP and that's making headlines in the Polish media. The Polish representation in the EPP is rather significant. What are your comments in terms of, and your thoughts in terms of the Polish impact of those 23 seats in the party?
Well, as you said, the Polish delegation in the EPP group in the European Parliament is a large one. I think, if I'm not mistaken, is the second largest, because the largest one is the German delegation. So the German Christian Democrats will have, I think, 29 or 30 seats. The Spanish delegation is also relatively strong, 22 members. So, well, this is how it works in the European Parliament. So the largest delegations can take the most prominent positions, and one of them is the position of the vice president. So this is, I think, relatively unsurprising at the moment within the political groups, which are international, which unite parties from member states. The the member parties negotiate, and they share positions between them. So such positions are as the president, vice presidents of the European Parliament, but also chairpersons of parliamentary committees. So at the moment, the parties are trying to find a package deal on the level of the European Parliament. So this, I think, is quite unsurprising, and it just reflects the position of the civic coalition delegation within the Christian Democratic political group.
Yeah, and also I think just looking at this, we have over, I believe, 20 different committees in the European Parliament. I suppose that also not just Mr. Halicki, but I think the Polish delegation will probably want rather high-profile committees. Do you see anything there that might be allocated to Poland? Something like defense, budget? What do you think they're going to be aiming for?
Well, I would say actually the two committees that you mentioned are quite interesting and quite appealing from the Polish point of view. Well, I believe also the one dealing with the single market, with the EU internal market, is also a very important committee. And since Poland has been emphasizing for a long time that there are still some reforms needed to the EU single market, namely reforms focused on removing barriers to free movement of goods and to free movements of services and of people within the single market. Because of that, I think this is another committee that could be interesting for the Polish delegation. So I would agree, defense, budget, and single market are quite interesting. Perhaps also a committee dealing with industry and energy. Mm-hmm. This is also quite an influential committee that gets a lot of EU legislation, and it is important because of that.
Just one really quick point at the end, because we have also now 7 members from Hungary, Peter Magyar's TISA party, which seems to be joining the EPP. We're looking at the EPP looking at around 188, maybe 190 seats. But we have some controversy already. I believe it was in the last sort of 24 hours. Peter Magyar said that he will not be supporting Ukraine in that sense. He does not want Hungarians to send weapons or supporting Ukraine in that fact. How much has this rattled the EPP? Is this now a liability for this party? Just a brief comment before we finish.
Well, the political groups in the European parliaments have a difficult task to reconcile various points of view, because of course the parties, the national parties that create political groups in the European Parliament, they have similar views, but of course not the same. Each national party has their own priorities, has their own specificity. So the leaders of European political groups have to somehow find a compromise and reconcile different points of view, and it can take time. I wouldn't. So it's not always a perfect agreement between politicians that work in the European Parliament. I wouldn't make a very big thing of that. I think with time they will be able to find some sort of a compromise with the new members, and I guess it's pretty natural that the Hungarian party is relatively cautious when it comes to Ukraine, because it is being criticized at home by Viktor Orban and his allies that they are too willing to go to war with Russia, and in this way threaten the interests of Hungary and Hungarian nationals. But I think a compromise will be found somehow in the coming months.
Okay, we're going to have to end our conversation there. Melchior Szczepanik of the Polish Institute of International Affairs, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thanks very much for having me.